Have you ever wondered why our first memories, or the blank spaces where they should be, trail us like a stubborn dog that won't leave the park? A quiet heaviness that never quite sets down. That weight often has an unflattering name, the tragedy of a ruined childhood. You can hear it in their pauses, see it in careful steps. What forged it? Not one catastrophe, but small neglects, like weeds slowly strangling a childhood garden. Hey everyone. Welcome to Psychologist Jeep, the corner of the internet for quiet souls, overthinkers, and the ones still healing from a childhood that wasn't kind. Here, we talk about the silent scars left behind when love was missing, when comfort turned into confusion, and when growing up felt more like surviving than living. This isn't about blaming the past, it's about understanding how it shaped us and learning to rebuild what was broken. If you've ever felt like the kid who grew up too soon, or the adult still carrying that child inside, you're in the right place. We're decoding the human mind, one untold story at a time. Before we dive in, please like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from, or how your story connects. You're not alone anymore. Let's explore with Psychologist Jeep. Now, we all picture childhood as a cozy sanctuary, where the sun shines on love and laughter, allowing us to bloom. But reality can be a cruel joker. For many, those years morph into a battleground, littered with unmet needs and silence where laughter should echo. It's a harsh realization that those missing pieces shape our personalities long after the crayons are put away. Dramatically, the mind's developmental blueprint is drawn up in our early years, based on kindness or its alarming absence. Let's take a moment to think about the delicate little beings we once were, plopped into this world without a say-so about our surroundings or parental quirks. Little ones find themselves groaning under the weight of family chaos or eerie calmness, filtering their experiences through an unyielding lens that shapes their reality. A ruined childhood feels like trying to grow in a storm, inherited battles, unfinished wounds passed down like sad family heirlooms. But let's backtrack for a second. This isn't exactly about painting every rough childhood as a one-way ticket to Gloom Town. Humans are remarkably resilient, almost like weeds that inexplicably grow in concrete. However, resilience has its own limits, folks. Imagine a fragile sapling struggling to sprout in toxic soil. Sure, some trees defy the odds and stretch toward the sun. However, many carry scars and twists from that brutal upbringing. It's a quirky paradox. Adults who technically grow up but never quite feel grown. What's even trickier is that this whole tragedy often goes unnoticed. From a distance, someone may look perfectly fine, cracking jokes at the water cooler and even raising a family. But lurking beneath that surface are the haunting echoes of their childhood woes. Developmental psychology gives us insight into this melancholic dance, revealing how a lack of consistent, nurturing love breeds a phenomenon known as insecure attachment. Imagine navigating adulthood on a tightrope strung over a bottomless pit of vulnerability. That's the reality for many, where trust feels like a fragile dream and intimacy a distant star. It's heartbreakingly ironic, but they often end up shouldering the blame, unaware that their challenges stem from a past entirely out of their control. Emotional baggage from the playground doesn't simply vanish. Those pesky remnants can cause adult struggles like self-doubt or endless boundary mishaps. The truth is, when kids learn that love is a prize to be earned, it sets a maddening precedent for the rest of their lives. They end up juggling for affection and validation, desperately trying to catch what should have originally been handed to them on a silver platter. It makes you wonder, wouldn't it be fabulous if we could rewrite those early chapters to ensure love was freely dispensed? Instead, many keep chasing shadows, earning what life should have effortlessly bloomed in their childhood gardens. As kids, we soak up everything around us, often believing all feelings are welcome at the party. But when we start thinking our feelings are a burden, we stumble into adulthood, silencing ourselves like a kid trying to keep the loudest secret in class. It's ironic, really, because those with the toughest childhoods often dismiss their pain. They wave their hands, saying, "It wasn't that bad. Others have it worse." Meanwhile, tucked away in their bodies is a whole library of unspoken hurts, just waiting to be acknowledged. Picture this. Your chest tightens like a tourniquet when someone raises their voice. Or how about that constant itch of restlessness during peaceful moments? Because deep down, you're not even sure what peace feels like. And let's not forget the suspicion that creeps in whenever someone tries to be nice. You're left wondering what angle they're working. The wildest part? It's not just a few moments of pain that cause these feelings. It's that endless list of little absences. Those bedtime stories that were never told. The hugs that were never given. Yep, they morph into shadows that stick with you into adulthood. Now, why should we dig up all this past baggage? Because recognizing it is like finding the key to a locked door. Freedom awaits on the other side. Dismissing childhood's impact is like claiming that the roots of a tree have no bearing. Spoiler alert, they do. Science backs this up, showing that childhood experiences literally shape our brains. Trauma and neglect twist those neural pathways, wiring us for survival rather than growth. Forget that the patterns you've picked up over the years are simply who you are. Nah, there's survival strategies that got engraved under pressure. Imagine a kid growing up in chaos, learning to read the tiniest cues, a sudden change in tone, the slightest shift in expression, the ominous door slam. They become human radar, constantly scanning for threats. Fast forward to adulthood, and that vigilance can translate into anxiety and overthinking. It isn't that they're just wired that way. Rather, they learn to navigate a world that felt more like a minefield than a safe playground. Then there's that other child, the unseen one, who learned early to stop asking for help. As adults, they might avoid asking for anything, becoming experts in resignation, not because they're weak, but because their cries went unheard. And here's the reality check. These childhood wounds don't just linger, they echo through the years, quietly shaping our lives. You might not see the cycle of self-sabotage, the phobia of love mingled with a desperate craving, but it's all there, still quietly humming in the background. Awareness can be a game changer, but it takes effort to break these cycles that have unofficially passed down generations like a hidden family recipe no one dares to reveal. But don't throw in the towel just yet. While it's too easy to drown in despair over the weight of a tumultuous upbringing, remember, it's not a life sentence. Yes, they're heavy burdens, but once recognized, they can shift from dragging us down to fueling growth. The same brain research that shows trauma's impact also reveals neuroplasticity, the brain's superpower to adapt and heal. This means the story doesn't end with a ruined childhood. It's merely a new chapter in reclaiming joy and building the nurturing parent within you that was missing before. However, that lingering sadness? It's the bittersweet spice of healing. No matter how many layers of understanding you peel back, the reality of that lost innocence and the laughter that never resonated remains. Healing can certainly smooth the sharp edges, but the childhood you lost isn't something you can relive. Ironically, the same burdens can give rise to profound depths. Those who navigate through it often emerge as deep thinkers and empathetic souls, acutely aware of life's nuances, making it all the richer despite its challenges. Ruined childhoods are like uninvited guests. They sneak in and disrupt the party of life, robbing children of the joy and beginnings they so richly deserve. However, amidst the wreckage, some manage to rise triumphantly, armed with a hard-won wisdom that states, "Pain may shape you, but it doesn't have to define you." This experience creates an invisible armor that protects, yet confines, many as they navigate adult life, often masked with a grin. Childhood pain remains that pesky ghost no one can see, often ignored or misinterpreted. When a child breaks an arm, suddenly everyone's rushing over with sympathy, signing casts and rallying around them. But when it's their spirit that breaks, it's like wearing an invisibility cloak. There's no visible cast for the soul, and sadly, this shapes a reality where children can't even recognize their own struggles due to the absence of love or kindness. Instead of labeling themselves as neglected, they've internalized a painful truth: this must be what life is. As adults, these once vulnerable kids often find themselves grappling with confusion. Why is everyone else breezing through life while I'm holding on to these childhood rough drafts? They wonder aloud. The reason behind their silent guilt is tied to that old emotional blueprint they unknowingly carry, each line and curve etched by experiences they didn't choose. Following a shaky map only leads to the uncharted territory of adulthood, overshadowed by questions of confidence and trust. The concept of the inner child often sounds like something straight out of therapeutic fairy tales, but it's real and deeply rooted. Each adult carries a small version of themselves, a capsule of emotions, lessons, and memories that were left in the attic when they grew up. If that child is ignored or burdened too soon, they freeze in time, stuck at that moment of pain. Imagine carrying a 7-year-old inside, an unworthy spirit hidden beneath the adult facade, and this unwieldy package of emotions continues to weight down the person's journey through life. The ripple effects of a neglected childhood extend into every facet of a person's life. They might find themselves reenacting familial patterns, overshadowed by the scripts of their past. It's like an accidental audition for a role they never wanted. In an effort to cope, they might drift towards fear, control, or the desire to please excessively, reflecting the echoes of their own childhood misfortunes. It's a confounding cycle of behaviors that stem directly from that early chaos. Research strongly backs these painful truths. Studies on adverse childhood experiences, or AC, lay it out for all to see. The more hurdles a child faces, the more they struggle later with emotional regulation and even physical well-being. The consequences of childhood traumas are like unwanted pop-up ads on the browser of adulthood, almost impossible to ignore. And yet, as society revels in the narrative of child resilience, it forgets that resilience isn't free from the toll of scars. Ultimately, far too often, children internalize the blame. Instead of thinking, "My parent is struggling," they spin that into a painful belief of unlovability. They paint themselves as unworthy, constructing lifelong fixtures from those misguided childhood beliefs. Consequently, countless adults wander around with invisible burdens whispering, "I am not enough," laboring tirelessly to fill voids that were never theirs to bear in the first place, while others choose to withdraw, crafting barricades of invisibility around their wounds. These are not mere personality traits. They're survival strategies born out of the silence that surrounded them during their darkest moments. In the echoing corridors of neglected classrooms and in homes shadowed by conditional love, a curious paradox unfolds. While shattered childhoods might seem like pure tragedy, they often give birth to remarkable strengths. These strengths, shaped in silence and forged through pain and perseverance, offer a unique lens to the world. Those who navigate such turbulent beginnings not only survive but also thrive in their heightened empathy and intuition. They see through the facade, nitpicking nuances that others miss because they had to learn survival skills early on. These survivors, having known the bitterness of neglect, often turn into warriors of compassion. No one clothed them in warmth, so they wear their scars like badges, protecting others from harm. This transformation is not without its bittersweet elements. Such strengths sprout from soil that should have nurtured joy, not despair. Yet, Even in the harshest terrains, seeds of kindness can blossom, shaping remarkable individuals driven to offer love and understanding where they once felt none. Healing isn't a straight line, not at all. Some days feel like a leap forward, while others drag you back into murky shadows. This push and pull is all part of the journey. The brain thrives on neuroplasticity, a fancy term for its ability to evolve no matter how seasoned you are. Even if safety was an alien concept in your formative years, your nervous system can relearn it. While the early chapters of your life may remain untouchable, you're the author now, ready to script a tale full of self-compassion and genuine connections. And let's face it, those who bear the marks of harsh childhoods possess a deeper humanity that resonates with the world. They understand absence and strive to fill that void with presence. They've known silence and have chosen to transform it into active listening, ensuring others never feel invisible. Their own smallness fosters a fierce dedication to elevating others, crafting a tapestry of understanding and support. Meaning often lurks in the transformation of pain rather than its denial, and these folks seem to know it best. For those who see their struggles mirrored in these reflections, take a moment to breathe. Your trials aren't signs of weakness but declarations of survival. Each obstacle you encounter is a testament to your resilience, a reminder that you've endured long enough to tell your tale. Sure, you might never rewind to a childhood filled with what you deserved, but look at the present. You have the power to gift yourself kindness, patience, and forgiveness, the very things you've craved. The reality of a shattered childhood is undeniable, yet looming over that sorrow is the bright possibility of redemption. This isn't about erasing the past, but about reinventing the narrative in the here and now. Honor that inner child by being the voice they always needed. Instead of casting a shadow of silence or shame, finally listen to their pleas for love and understanding, turning those echoes into whispers of hope. Ultimately, life isn't hinged on having a flawless beginning. It's about the stories we weave despite our flawed starts. Those who've had the bleakest beginnings often illuminate the path for others. They embody the resilience and light that makes even the darkest moments palatable, lighting the way forward not just for themselves but for others yearning for hope.